We are all very excited to return to Singapore for ChemCon Asia 2026 in June. Regulatory developments in Southeast Asia also gets industry excited, or at least they know the areas they should pay attention to. One of the industry leaders aware of all these developments is Sue May Teoh from ExxonMobil. Sue May, what are some recent major regulatory developments in the Southeast Asian region?
Yes, there have been a few developments in the region in the recent year. Firstly, the Vietnam law on chemicals has come into effect at the start of this year, followed by the finalization of the decrees and circulars that support and implement the law. In Singapore, the National Environment Agency announced new reporting requirements that has come into effect at the start of 2026. Philippines continues to refine their chemical control regulations to address and smoothen implementation issues, introduce risk-based approaches into their existing framework, as well as update some chemical control orders.
The big buzz is the implementation of the law decrees in Vietnam. Can you share some details?
Yes, this has been a significant regulatory development that industry has been anticipating, often viewed as a major revision on chemical control regulations in Vietnam. Now, while the law was finalized in June last year, in the later part of 2025, industry was focusing on the implementing decrees and circulars that were being drafted and underwent public consultation up to December of last year. Those secondary and tertiary regulations amended existing decrees and circulars, and they hold the key to what's changed, as well as how to operationalize those changes. There are new provisions in the regulations as well, including management of new chemicals and hazardous chemicals in products. Although the new decrees and circulars have come into effect, there are still questions and uncertainties on their implementation in specific areas or issues. What might be of an immediate interest for foreign chemical suppliers is how these new decrees and circulars will interact with the Vietnam Customs Agency practices on import of chemicals, particularly around full composition disclosures and the protection of confidential business information for those who are exporting to Vietnamese customers. I'm sure the industry will be interested to hear the progress in the last 6 months at the coming ChemCon Asia, and perhaps more importantly, have a chance to ask their burning questions to the speaker.
At ChemCon conferences, there's always time to connect with speakers, either during the Q&A or one of our networking events. The customs and CBI part you mentioned will be covered in our value chain seminar on Monday morning. Can you share some more news on Singapore and Philippines?
In Singapore, the National Environment Agency introduced a new mandatory reporting scheme in the middle of 2025. This is to help the NEA identify additional chemicals that may need to be controlled to protect the environment and public safety. This scheme came into effect at the start of this year. It is currently applicable to existing hazardous substance license and permit holders, but the industry is watching to see if it may be expanded or if it could lead to additional controls in the future. Over in the Philippines, the Environmental Management Bureau's Chemical Management Section has been tweaking their chemical regulations in the last few years. Part of the ongoing consultation and changes are meant to address issues on protection of confidential business information, as well as treatment of impurities, byproducts, and intermediates. Another ongoing consultation is to introduce a risk-based approach to qualify chemicals into their priority chemicals list. Industry will look forward to hearing of progress made in those areas and for refinements in draft chemical control orders or other new initiatives.
Anything else to watch for in the Southeast Asian region?
Well, Thailand and Indonesia have signaled their intent to accede to the OECD. This may drive new regulations or changes in existing regulations in the coming years as they align their regulatory framework to that of the OECD. We certainly hope to get a hint of what's coming in this conference.
Thanks, Sue May, for sharing this. The authorities from Thailand and Indonesia are expected to join us in Singapore, as well as the authorities from Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, and of course Singapore. We are really looking forward to this all-star authority lineup in Singapore at ChemCon Asia 2026 in June, the place where authority and industry meets. Looking forward to seeing you also in Singapore.